Right. The first one is, can you please explain again, briefly, the neurogenic switching?
Neurogenic switching, yes. We know that learning, for example, requires that a neuron in the brain, every neuron has on average 10 to 20,000 connections with other neurons. And learning involves that actually a real neuron makes a new connection in the brain at the speed of thought, which is really unimaginable for us normal people, that some anatomical structure moves and connects at the speed of thought. Yeah? And so neurogenic switching means that some neurons are connected with each other in the wrong way, creating shortcuts in the brain that are not congruent with reality. That gives you the wrong picture. Like a good example, for example, of switching are the people where color, the color perception in the brain is hooked up to the auditory cortex. So people that hear certain music suddenly see purple or see turquoise associated with it. That's a form of switching. It's a wrong neuronal connection. And so we grossly lump all these phenomena together as neurogenic switching. But on the surface, it may look like you're driving together with your wife. She's driving, and you tell her, take a right turn, and she takes a left turn. On the next turn, you say, no, I'm sorry, but we have to now go back. So please take the next right, and she takes a left again. That is a simple sign of neurogenic switching. But it can also be on an emotional level. You get a phone call that your dad just died, and you start laughing. That is quite common. That's also neurogenic switching. And so it can express itself on many levels. But for us, the important thing is, for example, if you are switched and we don't correct that, and we test your food allergies, it could be that all the foods that are bad for you test as the good ones, and all the good ones test bad for you. And so it has a crucial impact on the downstream testing that you do. By the way, the same is true with lab work. The same is true with objective medical tests, that you get complete wrong answers in the lab work and in the EKG and the EEG if you do not correct switching. We demonstrated that many times where you do lab work on a patient, send it in, and then you correct the switching and the blocked regulation, you take the blood again, it looks like it's a different patient. And that lab work reflects what you actually need to do. Okay.
Okay, next one is, when do we use chlorella? Is it necessary to use zeolite at the same time?
Chlorella and zeolite are binders. There's a book, A Bioabsorption of Heavy Metals, that carefully looked at the absorptive capacity of anything that exists in nature. And chlorella was clearly the winner. Chlorella is a living organism. And so chlorella binds things in its outer cell wall that would be dangerous to its survival. And interesting enough, our metabolism has similar sensitivities as the algae chlorella has. In fact, it pretty much proves the point that we all come from algae. That's the first form of life that we had. Zeolite is stupid. Zeolite is volcanic ash that has certain qualities of absorbing certain things, that we discuss in other workshops. So it's very limited in what it does. And zeolite is, in its nature, aluminum silicate, with a certain proportion silica to aluminum. And aluminum is the worst thing in our toxicology field. And so when you have a bad zeolite that has a relationship, let's say 1-to-1 of silica to aluminum, it releases aluminum into your system, and you over the time poison yourself. The zeolite that we are recommending has a relationship of 6-to-1, 6 parts silica to 1 part aluminum, and that is actually able to extract and bind aluminum from your system. It's hungry for binding more aluminum, and we're using zeolite specifically in the context of detoxing aluminum, but also detoxing nitrosative stress, the peroxynitrite and the other nitric oxide derivatives that are in the system. Those have been specifically found to be highly attracted by zeolite and extracted out of the blood. So zeolite has a more specific, limited role, an important role, but it's limited. But chlorella eliminates everything that is adverse to our condition and does not interfere with the absorption of zinc and molybdenum and the things that we actually need. It's an intelligent binder.
Right, thank you. So,
and they can be given together, but it's not ideal. Yeah, but there is situations, you know, when patient is in a crisis, you want to get them out of the crisis, you want to handle it in a few days, you give loads of both at the same time. You just kind of bury the system with it. But on the long term, you either give them at separate times of the day or only one of them.
Okay, the students want to know which ART tools they need to buy to start off at this level, ART-1.
Okay, so for ART-1, we do recommend that you get a signal enhancer with a pulse filter. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the test kits, you need the Key Science test kit. Ideally, this overlaps into ART-2. You should get the slides for the intracellular infections, the most common ones. And then if you, as soon as you can afford it, the set of DVDs that has every group of microorganisms in it that exists in the human condition, parasites, the molds, the viruses, retroviruses, and so forth.
I would like to add that the ART tools can be bought on Key Science and on the German Institute website as well. We have the same price because we work together, and that we are aware that there are in circulation some tools that are not original and they're very outdated and they are sold 3 times the price. So I'm sorry if you ever come across to that, but you know, the way to buy them, the original ones, and at a reasonable cost is Key Science and your institute in Germany as well. So just for you to know. Okay, so what is the best way of protecting yourself when you use a computer or anything electronic, EMF, etc.?
Yeah, so of course the whole area of electromagnetic field protection is the whole future of humanity depends on that. You know, to protect pregnant women, the fetus inside the womb. We have a whole teaching around that. But the more narrow question, how do I protect myself when I sit in front of the computer? So first of all, the 2 things from the computer, there's really 3 things that are bad. One is that the keyboard of the computer outgasses beryllium, mercury, and other toxic gases. So every time you use a computer, you should afterwards go wash your hands with cold water and soap. Warm water opens the pores and many of the toxins slip into you. Cold water closes them and you can wash off the toxic stuff that comes out. That's number 1. Number 2, computer has a very strong electromagnetic field that is very, very difficult to shield, and we leave that alone. Thirdly, the computer, when it's not on airplane mode, emits very strong radio waves that are bathing you in it. And there, when you have the laptop, as it's suggested by the word, you're definitely castrating yourself if you're a man. You're definitely killing your future babies in your ovaries, or you're setting yourself up for ovarian cancer or other things, you know, endometriosis and other illnesses in that area. And so simply switching the computer onto airplane mode, that's the best you can do to minimize it. Even in airplane mode, the CIA and the FBI can still find you because there's still a signal every 6 seconds or so going to the satellites and to the stations around you. So it's not a complete protection, but it's enough to survive this insane time. And then the last one, the 4th one that a computer does is the light that comes off the screen. There is something with a pull filter, you can check the way your screen is polarized. You know, so it should be either horizontally polarized, vertically polarized, or circular polarized. Most of computers until fairly recently were polarized in a diagonal way. and that creates addiction. You know, it was purposefully built in the screen that you become addictive to the computer with a simple trick that's known from photobiology. And so you can check that with the pull filter on the screen to make sure it's not diagonally polarized. You know, to simply turn the pull filter, and if the most light that goes through the pull filter is in a diagonal position, you know it's polarized that way. You know, the light should either come out when the pull filter is lined up straight or sideways. The other aspect of the light is that in the circadian rhythms, we should be exposed to bluish light in the morning, like that's what the sun is doing in the atmosphere, and to more red light in the afternoon, late afternoon and evening. And so there is now apps that you can get in the computer that actually automatically do that. In the morning, the screen is slightly more bluish, and towards the evening, it gets more reddish. And there's different programs you can use. And I think Microsoft has that now in most computers. It's automatically built in that you can actually choose that. You know, it's sort of like a screen. Or you can wear glasses, you know, these orange glasses that eliminate the bluish tint of the light, which turns on your pituitary and your switches off your pineal gland for making melatonin. So the light is a huge issue. Yeah, so these are the main issues in a computer.
Right, the next one is ART related. If an organ is being removed, do you still test for it? I think this is a good question.
Yeah, so this is of course a more esoteric question. Yeah, we know that each organ exists in us twice. It exists as a physical organ, and it exists as an energetic organ. And so one of the deepest healing things we do in the higher level workshops, for example, if a woman has removed her uterus, it's known that she's much more likely to get arthritis later in life, and chronic depression, and hormonal problems, and sleep problems. Yeah, and so it's a simple meditation that we teach these women to meditatively find where the energetic uterus is. It's usually removed where the other one is somewhere hanging in space out there at a certain distance, and her to find it and move it back, mentally move it back into place, and then tap. And there's incredible healings that come from that. And so you should do that for every tooth that has been removed, every tonsil that has been removed, every appendix that has been removed, to contact the energetic equivalent of it, pull it back in its anatomical correct position, and then lock it in with a tapping procedure. It may have to be done a few times before it is. And so that borders to the question of organ replacements, but we're not going to answer that here.
Okay, that's it for now. I think
Okay.